Good morning, and this is Neeraj Sinha from the NITI Aayog. I hope we can be heard and seen. The CEO NITI Aayog, Mr. B.V.R. Subramaniam, has graced the occasion with us in this room. And we have Dr. Chintan Vaishnav, who is the Mission Director of the Atal Innovation Mission, who is with us. And there are three from the Science and Technology vertical who have joined, Mr. Naman Agarwal, Dr. B.R. Tyagarajan, and Ms. Naba Suru. So give us 5 minutes if it is okay with you, because the Vice Chairman NITI Aayog is about to join in another 5 minutes. And Dr. V. Anaspat, member Science and Technology, is also supposed to join in the next 5 minutes. So I hope if we just, maybe go through some introduction of the participants who have joined online until both of them join. And in the meantime, can I request the CEO for a small, not now, sir?
When as per the
Okay, fine. So we'll just go around. I can see that we have, of course, Dr. Sasha Wunsch Vincent has joined. So good morning to you on behalf of the NITI Aayog, on behalf of the CII, and of course on behalf of India. And we also have Dr. Amit Kapoor, who has joined online. He's the chair of Institute for Competitiveness, and he's also the knowledge partner of NITI Aayog for the India Innovation Index. We have colleagues from the computational Indian industry who have been very vibrant partners of the NITI Aayog in the entire Global Innovation Index effort of the country. So, and of course, other than that, we have a lot of industry representatives who probably will get a chance to speak somewhere in between. We have a very tight program just for an hour. And of course, the first is the welcome by Mr. Alok Nanda. So I've already requested Mr. Nanda to just hold on for 5 more minutes, and then we'll start formally. So thank you so much, and a warm welcome to everyone on behalf of the NITI Aayog.
Yeah, thanks, sir, and we'll wait for a few minutes.
Nanda, we have the Vice Chairman NITI Aayog and the member NITI Aayog and the Chief Executive Officer NITI Aayog who are gracing this occasion from this room in the NITI Aayog. So you can now please continue with the program. Thank you so much for waiting.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So a very good morning to all the esteemed dignitaries to the India launch of Global Innovation Index 2023 being held in partnership with NITI Aayog and World Intellectual Property Organization. With this, I would now like to invite Mr. Alok Nanda, Co-Chairman, CII National Committee on Technology, Innovation and Research, and CEO, GE India Technology Center. Mr. Alok Nanda, over to you, please.
Thank you so much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm honored to extend a very, very warm welcome to the esteemed dignitaries at the India launch of Global Innovation Index 2023. The Global Innovation Index, as many of us know, serves as a vital barometer for innovation's impact on our economy. Innovation is a catalyst for economic growth, and India's strong innovation performance in GII reflects our strong commitment to innovation. Our Honorable Prime Minister's Jai Anusandhan call emphasizes innovation's role as we journey towards India's centenary in 2047. It's heartening to note that India has performed consistently well in GII 2020, GII in past and for 13th consecutive years. While we have maintained the 40th position in the overall global innovation ranking, India is holding the top rankings in key indicators, including ICT services exports, flow of venture capital, graduates in science and engineering, and global corporate R&D investors. We continue to maintain the leading position in overall ranking among the lower middle income country groups too. As founding knowledge partner of the GII, the Confederation of Indian Industry, CII, is proud to be an integral part of India's inspiring journey towards becoming an innovation-driven knowledge economy. With the vision to launch technology, innovation, and research across the nation, CII is working on a mission to make India a technology leader driven by innovation and research. The mission has 5 key goals. Enhance national investment in R&D from current 0.7% of GDP to 4% in 2047, with an interim milestone of 2.5% by 2030. Increase industry contribution in R&D investment from 37% to a minimum of 60% by 2030. Nurture innovation competitiveness of industry by identifying top 20 frontier technologies of national priority and develop proficiency by 2030. Fostering collaboration among industry, academia, research labs, and startups, which we call as the National Research Quad, with government as a critical enabler. Enhance gender equality in STEM workforce to a minimum of 50% by 2047, with an interim milestone of 35% by 2030. In an effort towards promoting gender diversity for innovation, CII proudly announced the launch of the CII Awards on Excellence for Women in STEM. The objective of the awards is to recognize and promote women in STEM, as well as to recognize the organizations promoting gender diversity. We are sure that this shall go a long way in promoting innovation through diversity. Call for applications for the awards will be announced soon. The momentum is building positively, and the time is favorable for us to get our innovation journey on a further fast track. With a supportive government, visionary policies, and a very talented workforce, India has the recipe for innovation success. GII's rankings go a long way in helping countries to establish their innovation strategies premised on the unique strengths of each market with its demographies, regulatory environment, and most importantly, society in general, and subsequently design the governance and business systems accordingly. Congratulations to the GII team for their valuable 2023 report, guiding us towards innovation excellence. Today, we must be proud of what we have achieved. But there's no stopping there. We need to progress further. With these words, I will take the opportunity to thank all our esteemed guests and dignitaries for being part of this launch. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nanda, for your insightful remarks. I would now like to invite Professor Rishikesh Krishnan, Director, IIM Bangalore, for his address, please. Professor Krishnan, over to you.
Good morning. Thank you for inviting me to this event. Let me also compliment the folks behind this annual Global Innovation Index for coming out with yet another very impactful analysis of innovation across the world. I'm delighted to see that India is again doing well and maintained its position at the 40th rank, and also made some progress on some of the critical indicators. As someone who has been studying innovation in India for more than 30 years now, it's always a delight to see how India is progressing And the GIA has enabled us to have a good set of metrics to track the progress as we go along. I just like to highlight a few points which I found interesting in this year's report. Not that I want to take away the thunder from the release itself, but 2 or 3 points which I thought I should underline at this point. I think it's really very heartening to see that India continues to improve on innovation efficiency. While we are, for whatever we invest, we are actually getting much more innovation output year by year. And this ratio is certainly a good sign of efficiency in our innovation investment. This has been a traditional feature of Indian innovation, and it's exemplified by the success of our Mangalyaan and more recently Chandrayaan-3 missions, where we can see that we've been able to do outstanding achievements at much lower cost than anyone else in the world. And this is indeed heartening, and it's of course very important for a country like India, which has a lot of demands on its limited resources. It's also good to note that we are doing very well compared to countries at the same level of economic development. But of course, our aspirations are even higher. If you look at what we want to achieve by 2047 or even earlier, I think we not only need to be doing better, we need to be doing much better than other countries at the same level of economic development. And we certainly don't want to allow that to be a constraint in our journey towards higher levels of innovation. If there are a couple of areas which are of concern, which I think I should mention at this point, I think one of them is the overall downward trend in R&D intensity of the economy as a whole. The graph in the India report clearly shows that unfortunately we have not yet been able to pick up on that parameter. And I think that is something we need to be concerned about. A sub part of that, which is even more concerning, is of course the industrial innovation. I mean, because business sophistication is another measure on which unfortunately we don't always do well. And this year is unfortunately similar in that trend. So I think it's this downward trend in R&D intensity, the need for more investment by industry in R&D. That is really the key dimension on which we need to focus going forward. The national programs, mission mode programs like Chandrayaan-3, they're all doing extremely well. We are able to convert our resources into really very superior outputs. But what we really need is Indian industry and of course, foreign companies working in India to drive the innovation activity with much more significant investment, particularly in emerging areas. And I hope that the PLI scheme and other schemes which are attracting investment to some of these critical domains will enable us to change the trajectory of R&D and innovation in industry. With these words, let me again compliment the report authors for a very useful report. As we spend some more time looking at the report, I'm sure we'll be able to discover many new interesting features. Let me also compliment CII for being a very strong partner to this activity year after year and focusing our attention on some of the important parameters that we need to track going forward. Thank you, and I look forward to hearing the other speakers.
Thank you so much, Professor Krishnan, for your interesting address. Our next speaker is Dr. Sasha Wunsch-Vincent, co-editor, Global Innovation Index and head, Economics and Statistics Division, World Intellectual Property Organization. May I now request you to please share the India performance analysis in GI 2023. Over to you, Dr. Sasha, please.
Good morning, Delhi from an early rise in Geneva. On the behalf of my Director General of the World Intellectual Property Organization, let me thank you for hosting this event, both to CII for having been a long-term partner for many, many years, but also NITI Aayog, obviously, who has been on this journey with us for a good 6-7 consecutive years, including with the launch in India. Usually when countries ask me how they can perform better on the innovation index, and they ask me for examples of countries that have engaged at the highest level across ministries in a very coordinated and regular fashion. India is always one of those 3 or 4 countries that I mention. And the others I will not mention now, but they are much smaller in size and complexity. So I think this is a great achievement in itself. I'm also quite honored to see Vice Chairman Mr. Berry, CEO Subramanian, and Dr. Saraswat, and other dignitaries. I don't take it for granted that you are offering your time, for this this presentation of ours. Now, I don't have much time. I will still share a few slides. And much of the discussion, in fact, already has set the right tone in my humble view. And that obviously some not concerned, but the welcoming of the stable 40 position is a very good thing. But I also heard a lot of points that I was going to mention anyway, and this was the declining R&D to GDP ratio, for instance, but also other factors that have to deal with the openness of the Indian innovation ecosystem to other countries. Look, if I really have 5 minutes only, I think I will send the slide set later on, but really focus on the core elements of the presentation as they relate to India, and skip over the general GII introductions. That said, in the presentations yesterday, in the press release, we have singled out India in many respects in international comparison. One is as one of the top 7 climbers of the world over the last decade. One as the...
Why you find this interesting, Dr. Sasha? I think your slide was small. I don't know whether you are moving it or you're on the first slide only.
Okay. Let me stop sharing. And stay.
You can't see the slides moving. What it's going to be like with 2 lakh people.
I will try sharing one more time, and otherwise, in the interest of time, I will essentially proceed without the slides. So, as I said, I think you can now see the climber slide. Is that correct?
Yes, we can see it now.
Yes. So I was just saying that we singled out India in many respects yesterday and during the press conference, but one was, of course, as it's as one of the strongest decade climbers, and also as one of the countries that has overperformed relative to GDP for the longest time. And you see, this is really the perspective that we wish to take on the GII. It's a long-term perspective on rank increases with a persistent innovation policy effort, which is monitored and critically self-evaluated, and not a focus on, on year-to-year jumps, which might be plus and minus 1 or even stable in a given year. And I'll get back to this. So I think this in itself is a big success, and I wouldn't underestimate the branding value of being selected in or having achieved this sort of status among countries such as China or Vietnam and Turkey, who are also very large manufacturing countries. Now, in terms of the ranking, you have mentioned it. It's a stable ranking. Now, I was, we're among colleagues here, so I am totally aware, of course, that India has very big plans for important jumps in the future. I'm happy that the result here is taken with satisfaction, although it's not a plus 10 jump. I must say that when I was going through the data, because as you know, the data is partly from 2021. Sometimes when it's a little bit outdated for India, it can be even 2020, but 2021, 2022, As you all know, these years were particularly challenging in different respects. But in particular, the pandemic lockdown in India was a little bit more pronounced than in other countries. So I was a little bit concerned what would happen. And I personally also seeing China slide, Turkey slide, etc., the other top 10 climbers, I was in fact very happy about this result. It's encouraging, it's stable, and it sets the path for the future positive increases of India. Obviously, I know that NITI Aayog and CII also have become real experts in the GII over the decade, and there's a lot of colleagues of yours who have real quantitative and analytical competencies and backgrounds, and there's no hiding from the fact that year-on-year rank changes, right, in such a composite indicator always have to be taken with a grain of salt. There are a lot of other relative factors in it. I want to mention one which is critical for India going forward, and that is the fact that a lot of these indicators are scaled by GDP and also by population. Now, it's a good thing, of course, that India is doing so well on both of these things, and exceptionally well, in fact, in terms of GDP growth. The current one, but also the expected one, I was just reviewing with an IMF colleague, the projected GDP growth for India in the next 2 years. That is, of course, fantastic news. But in the GII, we expect the numerator, so the GDP, the R&D, the venture capital, the patents, the education expenditure, to move minimum on par with the GDP development. So if the denominator grows fast, one has to keep up with the numerator, with those variables that I mentioned just before. In terms of Indian strength, there are the classic ones with which India has really built its strong innovation capacity and ranking in the last years. So ICT services exports, the strong domestic industry diversification, the strong graduates in science and engineering, the strong corporate R&D performance. But I must underline that there's also a number of new strengths, which are, in fact, with a lag, in my humble view, confirming all the policy initiatives that have taken place more recently in India, including Atal. And that is the very strong performance, for instance, in finance for startups, unicorns, and the business environment for new enterprise ventures. I remember a few years ago, when showing lower rankings of the GII, my Indian counterparts would say, yes, but there is sprawling Indian innovation, frugal innovation, and at that time, it was still hard to measure or hard to see perfectly in the data. And I find this is now coming through, right, with world ranks, top ranks in finance for startups, etc. I also want to mention, as World Intellectual Property Organization, the absolutely stunning, historic, stunning, and I'm not saying it like this to be nice, it's really historic in terms of the intellectual property developments in India. India was just 5 to 10 years ago really a relatively young user of the intellectual property system. And sometimes, in fact, the perspectives on intellectual property were not as positive as they are today as a tool for economic development. And the flipping or the total reverse of the situation which has happened in the recent few years is absolutely stunning when you look at PCT growth figures and patenting growth figures. And the other day I was looking at this with my chief economist, and I was still thinking, okay, but it's probably from a very low base. You know, if you have very few patents, it's very easy to grow fast. But when looking at the data in much more detail, I realized that the base is already extremely strong. And that translates into high intangible asset intensity for Indian firms. And this is really, I think, really quite a massive change from just a few years ago. And what I'm also heartened to see is that this is not just the Infosys, I mean, the Mumbai, Bengaluru, etc., ICT companies, but it slowly also penetrates the more classic manufacturing and engineering sectors, including automotive and others. So I'll skip over a few slides because we don't have that much time. I mentioned this already. So the strong corporate R&D sector, the strong science space, in the absolutely stunning IP success story, strong unicorns as well. There's a few slides there that illustrate this, the patents by origin, but also the citable publications, the top Indian IIEs, institutions, and also the strong performance, upward performance of in terms of unicorn valuation. When looking at the future potential on innovation, and of course, I'm not the one to advise India what to do or not to do, but what comes out of the data is what has been mentioned before. And that is in terms of expenditures on education and the gross expenditures on R&D in the presence of researchers and knowledge-intensive employment. We see either flat developments or, in fact, slight decreases, except for researchers. We have the denominator problem in this data. The denominator problem is the fast-growing GDP. However, the countries around you in the ranking, and not to say, not the least China, obviously, but also Turkey, etc., and OECD countries, manage to, or have managed, in short time to, in fact, double the R&D to GDP ratio from about 1.5% sometimes to 3%, even 4% in certain Asian economies. And that is something that at the minimum, the data would suggest to avoid a further decline of that ratio. And in fact, that is 2021 data. So it's quite interesting to see what will happen with 2022 data. The last point maybe on potential upward progress, and this is something that I'm putting more as a discussion topic, is that I see the strong corporate sector, which is, stellar on world top ranks. And I see also the Indian Institutes for Technology and the Indian graduates, which we now see come to Europe and come to other places of the world, who also are at top ranks, not only in terms of their educational qualities, but also, I must say, their my Director General would say, hunger for changing things and for in fact doing things, innovating things, whereas other generations, other young generations in my type of countries, Germany and France, etc., in my humble view, have lost that hunger partly sometimes. So that is extremely interesting. What I'm concerned about, or what I'm interested to discuss maybe, is the linkages, right? The linkages between the top science space of India, the strong IIEs, and the way at which that is made useful for corporates, the top corporates that I mentioned before, but also low income, more frugal type innovation in more rural societies. Whether this linkage is perfectible or not, only you can say, but I think this is possibly an area for future work. Just a few concluding remarks. I must say also that together, we have made absolutely stunning progress on Indian innovation metrics. I know Dr. Sinya and Dr. Saraswat, we still are in discussions to improve even further on certain missing and outdated variables. But if I compare to my time in the OECD 15 or 20 years ago, where there wasn't any business R&D data for India, and where many of these data points were totally outdated, and even 5 to 6 years ago, India now has, I think, about the best coverage in terms of just missing indicators and outdated data. And in terms of outdated data, there is only one indicator, which is in fact the World Bank indicator, which is not a perfect one to begin with, 512, which is heavily outdated, but the others is actually just a year. So I think NITI Aayog, NCII, but NITI Aayog in particular, and through the strong coordination work, Dr. Necha and others, it's really a big success. Same with the India Innovation Index, of course, where we've seen partly this measurement ambition taken to sub-national levels, and other countries really vying to imitate India in this respect. So it's all very encouraging news for us. I'm an international civil servant, so it's hard for me to very explicitly make comparisons between India and other countries. But I must say it's the country I'm most optimistic about, in particular in terms of the youth with this drive, and in fact a youth that has very early on been told about innovation, intellectual property, right? These tinkering labs, etc. It's something that I would wish my son or my daughter with 16 or 14, 12 years old now, or 10, would have in the education systems and in the innovation culture that exists in Switzerland, France, Germany, and the type of countries that I have lived in. So this is something that will only produce excellent results in the years to come. This is the final slide. It has been mentioned before. This overperformance of India, of course, we want India in the top 20, in the top 25, in the top 30. But I think we always have to look relative to GDP per capita when we do these things in terms of economists. And there, this ranking of 40 is definitely something that cannot be taken for granted. And I really want to congratulate on behalf of WIPO again, India, for this performance and the strong coordination performance played by NITI Aayog and NCII. Let me stop here. I was probably a little bit longer than I was supposed to. It was important to me to make some of these key points. I'm very much looking forward to your reactions and criticisms. Back to Delhi.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sasha, for such an overview presentation that you have shared. May I now request and invite Dr. V.K. Saraswat, member NITI Aayog, for his address, please. Over to you, sir.
Good morning. Greetings of the day. It gives me great pleasure to participate in the India launch of the Global Innovation Index 2023, which is an occasion that allows us to celebrate India's journey in the realm of innovation. I'm really happy to share with you remarkable strides our country has made in the Global Innovation Index rankings, and would like to showcase the strategies we have embraced to foster a culture of innovation that drives India's growth and development. Over the years, India has demonstrated a resounding commitment to innovation, leading to significant progress in the GII. India stands out as an innovation achiever in the index of the 13th consecutive year, which is a testament to our unwavering dedication to harnessing the power of innovation for socio-economic transformation. As explained in detail by Dr. Sacha, India's rank in GII 2023 is the same as the last year, 40 out of 132 economies. India performs better in innovation outputs than innovation outputs in 2023. India ranks 46th in innovation inputs, which is 4 spots lower than the last year, and 35th in the innovation outputs, which is 4 spots higher than the last year. India ranks first among the 37 lower middle income group economies, as well as first among the 10 economies in Central and Southern Asia. India produces more innovation outputs related to its level of innovation investments. Our performance is above expectations related to its level of development, making it an innovation achiever for the 13th consecutive year. I would like to take this opportunity to echo the key recommendations for India in the GII 2023 that India must reform its innovation ecosystem. Like to outline three key ideas in that respect. The mission mode approach for harnessing emerging technologies, a focus on STEM education, and redesigning the innovation ecosystem for startups and MSMEs. In today's interconnected world, the harnessing of emerging technologies is paramount for driving innovation across sectors. Technologies such as advanced digital communication, green energy, artificial intelligence, quantum computing, biotechnology have the potential to be transformative game changers, fostering economic growth and improving the quality of life. NITI Aayog recognizes the critical importance of these technologies and has adopted a mission mode approach to facilitate their adoption. Our strategy involves fostering cross-disciplinary collaborations, providing research grants, and creating incubation centers to accelerate the development and deployment of these technologies. Initiatives like the India's Semiconductor Mission, National Mission on Quantum Technologies, Cyber Physical Systems, Deep Ocean Mission, and Green Hydrogen are prime examples of our commitment to addressing pressing challenges through innovation. We firmly believe that embracing these technologies can revolutionize electronic devices, IT and communication, agriculture, healthcare, manufacturing, and numerous other sectors. By integrating emerging technologies into our national strategies, we aim to foster an environment where innovation is not a choice, but a culture. Our focus is on STEM education. Innovation is rooted in knowledge and nurtured by curiosity. A key factor in India's innovation journey is our unwavering emphasis on STEM education, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. STEM education serves as a bedrock for producing future innovators, researchers, and entrepreneurs, and is the cornerstone in our effort to build culture of innovation. We understand that fostering a culture of curiosity and innovation must begin early. Our efforts to enhance STEM education in schools and universities are evident through the initiatives like the Atal Innovation Mission and the establishment of Atal Tinkering Labs across the country. These labs provide students with hands-on experience in problem solving and innovation. Moreover, we encourage the private sector to complement these efforts with on-the-job training programs. Such programs enable students to gain practical experience and earn credits for further education, creating a robust pipeline of skilled professionals who are ready to contribute to the innovation ecosystem. Next focus is on startups and MSMEs, which are the backbone of India's innovation landscape. Their agility, creativity, and disruptive ideas play a pivotal role in our journey to become a global innovation hub. NITI Aayog has taken comprehensive steps to bolster the innovation ecosystem for these enterprises. Research parks, incubators, and accelerators have been established across the nation to provide startups with necessary infrastructure, mentorship, and funding. One notable example is the IIT Research Park, IIT Madras Research Park, which has become a thriving ecosystem for innovation and collaboration. In addition to physical infrastructure, financial support is essential. Initiatives like the Digital India Investment Fund and Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan provide startups and MSMEs with financial backing needed to transform their innovative ideas into reality. Mentorship plays a crucial role in guiding budding entrepreneurs. Our mentorship programs aim to connect experienced industry leaders with emerging innovators to provide guidance, knowledge, and network opportunities. Furthermore, market access is vital for the success of startups and MSMEs. NITI Aayog is actively working to create avenues for these enterprises to access domestic and international markets, ensuring their growth and sustainability. In conclusion, I would like to say India's journey in the Global Innovation Index is a testament to our nation's unwavering commitment to foster culture of innovation. We have come a long way, but our mission continues, and innovation is not a destination, but a path towards progress and prosperity. Together, let us embrace emerging technologies, empower our youth through STEM education, and nurture startups and MSMEs to drive innovation that propels India to new heights. Thank you, and may our collective efforts continue to inspire innovation for a brighter and more prospective future of our country. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable address. We have now a small video for the launch. May we have the video, please? Thank you so much. With this, I would now like to invite Mr. B.V.R. Subramanian, CEO, NITI Aayog, to give his address, please. So over to you.
Thank you, friends. I'm extremely delighted to be here today at the India launch of the Global Innovation Index. As we go ahead, let me first compliment WIPO for the effort they have put in getting this innovation index in place. It's extremely helpful. It enables countries to know where they are and help them actually plan for the future if they want to improve the index. I also thank WIPO for all the support they've been giving to NITI Aayog in improving the innovation ecosystem in India and guiding NITI in developing its own innovation index at the national level for states. Let me give you a larger context why these indices are important. The government of India takes these indices quite seriously. We track about 28 indices on a regular basis because development has many aspects. And while departments try to design policies, implement schemes, sometimes the larger picture in terms of outcomes tends to get lost. And therefore, indices actually focus our attention on the outcomes. And the government actually seriously uses the indices for generating reform action at multiple levels. And I think the results are visible. GII is one of the key indices which are tracked among the 28. And the fact that the government has been tracking this index and taking concerted action over the years is visible in the improvement in India's performance. Innovation is not the job of one agency. There are, even at the national level, at least 30-40 departments involved and innumerable agencies that are there. So there's a coordination mechanism. NITI Aayog has the responsibility for this particular index, apart from monitoring all the other 28 indices. So it's got an interministerial committee where we meet regularly and we have been pushing decisions and improvements over the years. It's been conducting workshops at the national level, at state level. Ministries, states, institutions participate in this, and there's a concerted effort to push the envelope to see that individuals' concerns are addressed, the entire ecosystem improves, and the innovation ecosystem overall takes a step forward. In addition, we've been pushing for collaborations with other countries. We have collaborated with the Swiss government, the United States. There are institutions, Germany, Sweden, many others. We help our institutions engage with them so there's some peer learning, they can learn from each other and improve their practices. In addition, I'd like to highlight that innovation is extremely important for the Prime Minister, and therefore we have a special unique mission here called the Atal Innovation Mission, which is housed in NITI Aayog, which has been trying to do multiple things. A, to create a scientific temper at schools, improve the innovation ecosystem in the country. So they have been funding tinkering labs at schools. They have been funding incubation centers across the country, about 100 of them. And overall, coordinate action so that innovation in the country actually goes up. As Mr. Sasha has said, this is not the end of the story. There are challenges. We admit that as you rise higher in the rankings, each step becomes more difficult. There's a lot of diminishing returns. Jumping from 80 to 40 is easier than from 40 to 20, because now you're going head on against developed countries. But I don't think that is a matter for losing heart. It only spurs us to do better. It motivates us. It incentivizes us to do better. The Prime Minister has laid down a vision for India as a developed nation in 2047, what he calls Vikasit Bharat at 2047. And science and technology and innovation and startups are at the core of the Prime Minister's vision. Day before yesterday, he was in Gujarat, and tea was served to him by robots. So, so his fascination with science and technology is phenomenal. And I think science and technology will also be at the core of the vision which NITI is crafting for the nation for 2047. We are working quite hard on this. We understand the concerns that have been raised. We are working hard so that R&D expenditures improve, the science and technology ecosystem grows and develops. Science and technology education also improves, not just in quantity, but quality. We're trying to improve the environment within which startups operate, not just the incubation centers, etc., but also their funding, finance. And I can see that on the financing part, I think India is one of the top rankers. We're probably top 10 as far as the finance ecosystem is concerned. We're trying to improve databases in the country so that startups have better access to data to perform better. It's a long, long journey. It's not easy. It's tough. But I'm sure as a nation, we will persevere. We will succeed. I mean, this is Asia's century. There is no denying that. Incremental growth in the world will largely come from this region, of which India is going to be a major part. So with the collective effort of, as a Prime Minister says, Team India, which is central agencies, central departments, ministries, state governments, institutions, and the private sector, I'm sure Team India will take India to new heights. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your insightful address. We now have a short video message from Mr. Darren Tang, Director General, World Intellectual Property Organization. May I have the video, please?
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for joining us in this event related to WIPO's Global Innovation Index 2023. Across 16 editions of the index, the GII has established itself as the worldwide resource for understanding the state of innovation globally and within each country. Why is this important? Well, innovation is about making a great idea become reality. But this process is not easy. The GII helps us to understand how a country's innovation ecosystem is doing. In other words, how is it able to help great ideas become reality? Where is it working well, and where improvements can be made? So the GII becomes a tool to help a country build, boost, or fine-tune its innovation engine. This is important not just for domestic growth or to meet the aspirations of local innovators. It is also critical in unleashing innovation potential around the world to meet global challenges like climate change. The GII 2023 is rich in data and uses 80 indicators from venture capital funding to research and development investments to patenting rates to capture a snapshot of the state of innovation in some 130 economies worldwide. Generally, the results are positive despite a challenging economic and political environment. R&D investments is up, tech creation and adoption are rising, and a group of middle-income economies are marching forward in their innovation achievements year after year. But the report also sees signs of clouds forming on the horizon, like there's been a drop in the value of venture capital funding and a softness in translating innovation into productivity gains. One of the key findings of this year's report is the achievement of a group of middle-income economies in the GII ranking. 21 developing economies are now performing above expectation on innovation relative to the level of economic development. These economies are located primarily in Asia and Sub-Saharan Africa, and they include a number of low-income economies. While this is encouraging, not all developing economies are making the same progress, and that is why supporting all countries' aspirations to benefit from innovation will continue to be a key priority for WIPO. Good ideas can come from anywhere, and they deserve to be supported so that they can make an impact and change the world for the better. I invite all of you to delve into the GII 2023, study the rich data and insights presented in it, and work with us to use it to design policies, initiatives, and practices that can strengthen your country's innovation ecosystem and support your country's innovators. I wish you all fruitful deliberations and a successful event ahead.
Thank you so much. With this, I would now like to request Dr. Neeraj Sinha, Senior Advisor S&T NITI Aayog for his closing remarks, please.
No, I think we have missed a very important event. That is, I think, the chief guest lecture by the Vice Chairman NITI Aayog. So he's now going to address us with his remarks on the Global Innovation Index 2023 and India's performance in the same.
Well, it is a sign that we are dealing with a Swiss organization that for once we are ahead of time and not behind. So with the aspiration of concluding exactly on time, I will perhaps use the latitude given to me. A lot has been said. I have learned a lot from these presentations. Let me just thank, of course, the vertical, the S&T vertical, Dr. Saraswat, for putting on this event. For myself, the fact that this is already my second engagement suggests that, reminds me that I've been at NITI for more than a year. And this is indeed a flagship event, I think, for NITI Aayog, for all the reasons that our CEO has mentioned. I mean, this is actually a basis for action. Let me also say that cooperating with CII and in the address that was made, I became aware of the concrete aspirations of CII on raising the research share in GDP, which I was not aware of. And in the very detailed presentation or examination, I should say, by Dr. Sasha of India, I was particularly heartened by what you had to say, Sasha, about the about the turnaround in IPR, because that is very important, and I shall indicate why I think it's so important. But let me start from what CEO mentioned. Two things, or build on two things that the CEO mentioned. One is the Prime Minister's vision, and the second is this aspiration for India to be a developed economy by 2047. As somebody who's in the room right now, Dr. Chintan Vaishnav knows, the Prime Minister used his address on Science Day this year to highlight, as it were, the importance of a scientific temper from an early age in Indian youth. And so this vision comes very much from him, as does, of course, the inspiration for the Atal Innovation Mission. I think that you yourself, Sasha, mentioned the tangible difference in expression you are finding on this. We are talking of 1/5 of humanity, a very large cohort of children. So it would be silly to say that one initiative, but leadership at the political level, indicating both for women and for youth that, look, these opportunities are open to you. All of this does come from the Honorable Prime Minister, and it is in the way that we were very privileged to put forward the multidimensional poverty index to show that over time these things have a tangible expression. Similarly, I would say that India's ranking, again, sort of endorsed by a respected global organization, this is very reassuring and heartening for all of the initiatives that come from PM's brow, but which we are privileged to, as it were, help take forward. My second point would be how an economist sees innovation, and particularly the points you made, Sasha, about normalizing for per capita GDP. Okay, so what we can say is that India's march or aspiration for developed country status by 2047 is not going to be constrained by the availability of labor. Okay, so we're in the demographic sweet spot. But what is the role of innovation? The role of innovation is what economists would call total factor productivity, and that is to raise the productivity of labor, which can partly be done by changing sectors, but often is an issue of, indeed, innovation, using labor more productively, capital more productively. And so I think that the contribution over the medium term of innovation for India would be the contribution it makes to TFP, on which India actually has a pretty good story, and we are working with the Groningen Center on this CLEMS project. So we do track quite carefully what is happening on TFP. One of the difficulties in that, and I was very pleased to hear that on other indicators we've been doing well, is that it's only slowly that our labor force data are improving. And of course, you can't really do a decomposition of growth without good labor force data. But as it were, the contribution of innovation to the growth of TFP is really the way in which I hope to complement what CEO has been talking about in articulating, with all its uncertainties, a game plan for reaching developed country status by 2047. Now, the reason that what you had to say about intellectual property resonated with me in the way that it did is that there is this puzzle that perhaps CII can help us crack, which is, as it were, the lack of porousness between our attractiveness for global capability centers, and yet, in a sense, how little of that bleeds into our innovation ecosystem. I mean, if we were to compare ourselves with what goes on in Silicon Valley, for example, people are hopping around all the time, and these, I mean, I know from my time at Shell that Shell set up its second largest lab outside Amsterdam in Bangalore, and I was inside Shell, so I went around and had a sense of what they were doing. It was impressive stuff, but I don't know whether what happens in Bangalore stays in Bangalore, or whether intellectual property concerns are what prevent this from, as it were, diffusing to the rest of the economy. But I think that that ought to be, as it were, on the agenda for thinking about how to benefit from the talent and indeed the expertise of multinationals based in India. And that also, I think, brings me, I think I'm still not on Swiss time, but there's no reason for me to eat into near Sinner's time. So I'll make two final points. One is that clearly there is a lot of excitement about innovation clusters, and CEO is spending a lot of time thinking about cities as growth engines. But, I think that what the diffusion of ICT now makes possible is for innovation to be taking place in tier 2, tier 3 cities as well. And that is why, as it were, the diffusion of this temperament through the innovation labs is, I think, the next horizon for innovation in India. And then, of course, also making better use of our female STEM labor force, because we do a pretty good job of getting women into STEM higher education. We do a lousy job for all kinds of sociological reasons on actually exploiting what they have to do, because we are still a traditional society, and, as it were, homemaking dominates even in the urban areas. And so, if we can start enlisting in the way the US has through virtual work, this labor force more actively, that could be another huge, as it were, stimulus to the increase in productivity. And since CII is here, I'd hope that Naushad will address the group. I think we are indebted to Naushad for the chapter in his book on design and the importance of design. I think he has put that on the agenda. It's a form of innovation that perhaps doesn't get the attention, except I can tell you that it does in the eyes of the Honorable Prime Minister. He sees the journey that, an Italy or a Switzerland or whatever have gone through really in the post-war period. I mean, Italy was an agricultural country at the end of the war, but with the systematic application, forgive me, the pollution is back. Application of design in decentralized public-private partnerships. You now have France and Italy and Switzerland, for that matter, as the homes of luxury products which contain a huge amount of intangible property in their branding. And so this also is the trajectory I think we need to understand better with the support of CII, with the support of WIPO in the journey that lies ahead. So thank you all for giving me this platform and opportunity. I would just reiterate both what Dr. Saraswat had to say about the very specific initiatives that are underway, and what CEO had to say about the seriousness with which credible indices are used to set an agenda. And let me hand over to the anchor.
Thank you so much, sir, for your keynote address, and my sincere apologies for the initial mess. Thank you so much, sir. It was quite an insightful address then from your side. With this, I would now like to request Dr. Neeraj Sinha, Senior Advisor SNT, NITI Aayog, for his remarks.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nitesh Das. Everything that requires to be said and requires to be noted has very accurately been underlined already by the Vice Chairman NITI Aayog, the member Science and Technology NITI Aayog, by the Chief Executive Officer NITI Aayog, by Dr. Sasha Wunsch-Vincent, of course, by Mr. Alok Nanda from the CII, and by the Director, Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore. While I request towards the end of my brief address I request Dr. Ashish Mohan from the CII, who is here with us in this room, to kindly propose a formal vote of thanks. I just wanted to take this opportunity to highlight on behalf of the NITI just 2 points. One is we have remained steady, and while it may not look that rosy on the outside, when you probe a little further into the rankings of major economies in the GII 2023, we'll all notice that major economies, including the US, China, and Korea, have taken a downslide. And while Korea has gone down substantially by 4 positions, US and China both have gone down by 1 position each. Netherlands had gone down by 2 positions. Now, we all know that this is attributable to the fact that during the time when this data was being picked up, the world was hit by the pandemic. So India, given the size and the denominator, as Dr. Vincent has very rightly pointed out, remaining steady is a matter of satisfaction for all of us as a country. But that doesn't mean that we sit on our laurels. As already highlighted by my senior colleagues in the NITI Aayog, we are going to continue to strive to ensure that India improves on its innovation initiatives, on its innovation capabilities, on its innovativeness in general, to continue rising on not only the index, but also to continue distributing the benefits of innovation to its large masses. The second thing I just wanted to highlight was the fact that the data lag, as already highlighted by Dr. Vincent, has reduced to almost zero as far as provision of data to the GII is concerned, or to the WIPO is concerned, since NITI Aayog took over this work in 2019, December. It was almost the time when the pandemic hit the world. So, but despite that, as we have ourselves noted, the data lag has been reduced from 4 years to 1 year in the case of 7 indicators, and has been reduced to 0 in the case of 6 more. So there were 13 indicators on which India was lagging when we took over this work. So that, of course, has been instrumental because of the Interministerial Coordination Committee that is chaired by the Chief Executive Officer of NITI Aayog. We have been able to ensure that all our colleagues in the various stakeholder ministries and departments see the importance of updating data at the data source as proactively as possible. So with these words, I'll request just Dr. Chintan Vaishnav, who is my colleague from the Atal Innovation Mission. He's the mission director of the Atal Innovation Mission, to just speak a couple of minutes on the various initiatives that he's handling, which lead to the innovation capabilities sharpening in the country. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sinha. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I really want to say only one thing, given what has been already said. This year is a significant year for the global startup ecosystem because under India's G20 presidency, the only new engagement group was Startup 20. Until now, the G20 architecture on the private side, that is on the engagement group side, had only one business group called Business 20, which represented all businesses, but was largely consumed with concerns of large corporations because there was enough to unpack there. Going forward, as India proposed Startup 20, going forward, there will be two groups in the G20 architecture. The Startup 20 will represent the small and medium as well as startups. This group has, in bringing it from 0 to 1, I feel we have put together a communique which is available on Startup 20's webpage. In that communique, what I believe we've articulated is a collective vision for building a global startup ecosystem while keeping the autonomy of the local startup ecosystems for the next 10 years. So there are several very promising collective statements there, including trying to increase the total funding into the global startup ecosystem from an average of $300 to $400 million per annum to $1 trillion per annum US dollars by 2030. There is another work on how to build a global network of institutions, existing institutions, so that startups can find international markets, especially those startups that are solving global challenges that all of us have. So there's an articulation of how to do that. And finally, there's a very serious attempt to put together a global definitional framework for startups, so as well as a good governance practices framework for startups, so that valuations, transparency increases and valuation begins to be in line with value, which is a major issue that we have to contend with globally. So I think this effort, as a communique, turns into institutions, which is what we are now working on, and G20 moves to Brazil and South Africa, is something that we should see how it has relevance to the work of the GII and so on. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll now request Dr. Ashish Mohan, who is here with us from the Confederation Indian Industry, to kindly propose a formal vote of thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Sinha. It has always been a pleasure to work with NITI Aayog and the guidance of all of you. Thank you. I'll start my vote of thanks, but before that vote of thanks, the two data points which came out, Chairman. While India is at rank 40, overall rank 40, but the innovation input is 46, but innovation output is 35, which means it shows the effectiveness of the innovation ecosystem, perhaps because of the Atal Innovation Missions and NITI Aayog. So thank you starts from this collaboration towards the science and technology. The knowledge output index, we are at rank 22, which means we are doing fairly well on IP, which was also mentioned by Dr. Sasha. So I will start submission of my vote of thanks by saying a thanks to NITI Aayog for its efforts in bringing the science and technology ecosystem together, and also, sir, clearing a lot of data log, which was there and which we are now gradually coming near to, I think it's 2021 now, which reflects the PhD. So thank you for this, and we'll keep taking advice from industry, from industry side, we'll keep taking your advice on how to do better. So thank you, Chairman, Mr. Berry, for your views and guidance. You spoke about design, and you also referred to work from Dr. Noshad, who is our Chairman of National Technology Mission. We work on your advice to make India more impactful on innovation. Thank you. I'd like to thank CEO Mr. Subramaniam for your constant guidance. Your work has actually helped us in minimizing this data lack. And also you referred to vision of Honorable Prime Minister. Yes, we are working towards that ambition of decade 2021-2030, and we work with you on this. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Saraswat. You have been always a coach, a guide in our mission, and you have given us a roadmap in your previous addresses also, and today also you have given us a roadmap. We'll keep working on it, sir, and to make it success. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Sasha, for being a close friend, guide, mentor in this journey, and also telling us what we are doing right, what we are not doing right. This is an important part. Thank you. I would actually request if you could share that deck with all of us. It will be very useful to refer it back time and again, so that next time we can actually also see our movement on those positions. Thank you, Dr. Sasha. That has always been so useful. Mr. Alok Nanda and Professor Rishikesh, thank you so much for being our chairs and co-chairs and leaders initiative at CII. To some awards, recognitions, and our mission, we are working closely under your guidance to make it happen. And Dr. Sinha, sir, you have been our person in sitting in NITI Aayog, if I can say. Thank you for all your guidance that you have given to us. And Dr. Jim, can you give some useful insights? So if I can also take 30 seconds to thank your team, Dr. Somto and others, Naman, I know by name, other colleagues who work with our team, Namita, Divya, Priyanka, Nitesh, Navanita. This is the team which is actually quite aspirational and ambitious in making India get into top 25 nations. Thank you for it. We'll keep doing it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ashish. With this, we come to the close of the launch session. On behalf of CII, once again, would like to sincerely thank all the esteemed dignitaries and the participants for their presence at the session today. Wish you all a great day. Thank you so much.